So because of the kitchen spool that I'm working on right now, and this bathroom vanity spool that I've had, this spool right here, it is actually 5 years old. This is an epoxy project that I did. And what you need to know about doing a wire spool with epoxy, because it's very, very tricky doing a wire spool with epoxy. I do have a penny backsplash, and I'll start with the penny backsplash. What I did with this is I painted a board, a 1/4 inch masonite board black, and then I laid it flat, and then I laid out the pennies, and I did a deep pour epoxy on those. You don't necessarily have to do a deep pour on this. I like deep pour because you have more time to work out the bubbles, pop bubbles as they started coming out, because you have almost an entire day to stop letting the air bubbles come out. So first of all, what I did was took this metal ring. I had it bent on a radius. I took this metal ring, drilled holes in it, put carriage bolts in it. These are just glued in place. But this is 3/8 of an inch higher than the top of the spool. You have to have everything completely level when you're doing deep pours with epoxy. But that's what I did here, is I brought that up to create a dam so I could put different items inside of it. These are some nails from a barn I took down. I just threw some stuff in that resembles me, these saw blades, and that's from Ecuador. That's worth about 10 cents. But anyway, because there's such big voids and everything on a spool, and then they crisscross, what I do is I go and I silicone the bottom. I get as much silicone in anywhere that epoxy can bleed through. I get it blocked as much as possible, because epoxy will go all the way through that, especially a deep pour. But first of all, I will take the bare wood, do a skim coat of epoxy on that. That's the sil coat. That will stop all the bubbles that want to come up out of the barn wood, or any other wood. You know, it's not barn wood, but it's a spool. Then I take sand. I'll take sand and I'll put it on the whole table. And then I'll take a rubber mallet and I'll beat on it. And what that does is it works all the sand down inside, and the sand will go underneath the boards. It'll be between everything, and that acts as a filler. So anything that wants to go through doesn't bleed between the two layers and costs you a lot of extra money, because it will gobble up your epoxy. This project here, I think, took me about 4 gallons, so it was roughly $450 to do this one. I have a better way of doing it now, because now there's fast set epoxies to where I can just use a fast set on every one of these seams to get everything to gum up. So that is a new product that I'm going to start working with. I'll show you that on the kitchen countertop that I'm going to do. This spool right here was the very first epoxy spool that I ever did, and I will tell you, I wasted a lot of epoxy on this thing, a lot. This I did, I want to say 9 years ago. Everything bled through. This particular table glued itself to the concrete. I had to pry it off the concrete, and I actually broke the concrete doing it. This one was very expensive too, because I didn't know what I was doing. But up on this level of this barn, this is the kitchen countertop. This spool is 9 foot, and I'm going to do it different because I started using this epoxy. And the reason I like Artistry epoxy is because they've got this fast set now. So when I fill up everything with sand, like I said, I will use this, the fast set, and then I'll just lay it in those, and then I'll go over it with their countertop epoxy. But this hole right here, I will end up blocking off the bottom. I will take sand from the lake that's out that window, if you can see it, the light pollution. But anyway, there's a lake out there, and I'll make this look like the lake, because it's almost even the shape of the lake. So I'll do this so it looks like the lake. I'll take the sand from the lake and I'll fill this ring with it so it's flat, and it'll give it a nice contrast, because this got a lot of sunlight, so it's gray. And then I'll do a different kind of gray with the sand in that to fill that void. And then I got this lighter color, but I will take a sander across this gray a little bit, and two-tone it. So it's this and this. That way when I put epoxy on this, it doesn't turn really, really dark gray, because that's what it would do. So anyway, if you like what you see, make sure you subscribe, because I do epoxy, I do upcycling of spools. I upcycle pretty much everything. That's the grain bin right there. This is all barn wood that I've collected through the years trying to build a barn home. That's a spiral stairway that's going to look like a concrete silo. It's a tree in it. It's got a bloody tree in it. See? I told you so. It's a bloody tree.